The, there's a curious phenomenon which is taking place at the moment with teenage boys taking over councils. It is extraordinary. And I want to talk about these boys in Reform UK. And I use the phrase advisedly because they are in many cases literally boys, teenagers and 20-somethings who've been put in charge of vital public services with budgets running into hundreds of millions after Reform UK's breakthrough in May's local elections. We have an 18-year-old leading my own local council, Warwickshire County Council, a 19-year-old university student overseeing children and family services in Leicestershire, a 22-year-old property developer with adult social care portfolio, someone who in his downtime apparently mused online that depression isn't real. It is, let's say, a bold approach to local government. But we shouldn't pretend that this is an accident. Nigel Farage is not an idiot. Well, at least not in the generally accepted understanding of that term. If you take it back to its Greek origin, idiotikos, he is an individual, certainly. So from that point of view, he is an idiot, and he is particularly individual. He's cultivated exactly this vibe, idiotikos. He knows young men and boys feel drawn to him, especially, I suspect, because as we discovered from the questions he asked about the Southport riots, the questions he asked, the legitimate, can't I ask a question? I'm not shallow. He listens to and he draws on the wisdom of Andrew Tate, that icon of masculinity. He's chosen to speak the language of youth, or rather the language of lad culture. He's the bloke who's happy to go skinny dipping in the Brighton briny after a few beers. And let's face it, that's better than smashing a local constituent in the face 6 times, serving 3 days in prison and then being let off with the clemency of the law and possibly a suspicious handshake. For that's the fate of Labour's former rising star, Mike Amesbury. If that is supposed to inspire Labour youth, no wonder the party is going nowhere. Meanwhile, the Conservatives hold up an icon, Kemi Badenoch, an MP who can't even read her own script at PMQs without stumbling over it. So, you see why Farage, well, you see why that Farage brand feels authentic. He's one of the lads, and he's funny, at least to those who like that sort of humour. Nudge, nudge. Now, let's talk about those boys who are actually running councils. Charles Pugsley, aged 19, is in charge of children and family services while still at university. Joseph Boham, 22, is a deputy council leader for adult social care in Leicestershire. Despite having posted approvingly about Andrew Tate, it's interesting how Andrew Tate's name keeps cropping up in these conversations, that champion of hustle culture and misogynistic nonsense. George Finch, at an impressive age of 18, leading Warwickshire County Council, sweet boy telegenic, with a 500 million budget and £1.5 billion in assets. He finished his A-levels last year. These are not small ceremonial roles. These are positions overseeing services dealing with child protection, vulnerable adults, social care budgets already stretched to breaking point. And they think that depression isn't real. Well, there you are. Age will tell, won't it? Even Conservative councillors who champion youth involvement and pit the younger may have called this a reckless deep-end throw where people without political or life experience are given exposure to real trauma and impossible decisions, and yet Reform's answer to these criticisms, age is just a number. Finch cited William Pitt the Younger, who became Prime Minister at 24. That's still a little older than these lads. And Mike Tyson, who was heavyweight champion at 20. Oh, maybe Mike Tyson could give some advice to Mike Amesbury. It's a revealing comparison. Boxing is a brutal, individualistic sport that requires aggression. Local government requires consensus-building social responsibility and understanding people's needs. But there's something clever here, if cynical. Reform knows exactly what it's doing. It's pitching itself to young men who feel they've been left behind, lectured to about toxic masculinity and written off as a problem. Farage has said it outright. Society is stopping young men from being young men. And if no other politician will talk to them, he will. The problem really with modern politics and with the two big parties, the Conservatives and the Labour Party, They've both talked about what you can't do, but neither of them has given young men particularly an icon of what you can do. And that's where that's where Andrew and Tristan Tate fill a hole. Oi, I'm filling a hole. I mean, it's either that or Boris Johnson. Oh, let's stain the sofa. Hence the TikTok videos, the football banter, the sly nods to Andrew Tate's worldview of hustle, dominance, and getting rich. This isn't shallow. This is calculated. I remember I was asked to do a show called The Hustle. I pointed out that I thought that the name was rather odd. It turned out that it was a show which was actually designed for an American audience, and I think I was just being tagged along. But in my mind, The Hustler, or Hustler, was a 1970s top shelf magazine from W.H. Smith. The message Farage is telling young men is, you're not broken, you don't need fixing, have a beer, make money, be a man, tighten your belt. And it's the same message Trump used. I'm not here to scold you, I'm here to be you. But what does this cost us? Running adult social care is not an episode from The Apprentice. It's not a hustle. It's making sure your grandmother doesn't die in a freezing house without support. And it's not as if the Labour Party is helping in that process. Overseeing children's services is not a TikTok reel. It's protecting vulnerable children from abuse, from neglect, from the lives of hopelessness. Julia Ross of the British Association of Social Workers put it bluntly. These are roles that handle hundreds of millions of pounds and shape the lives of the most vulnerable. Yet Reform UK has handed them to people who were in school uniform 5 minutes ago. They've done so in the name of fresh perspectives, when what is really happening is cheap theatre, using youth as a shield from criticism while pushing divisive culture, war policies like banning pride flags from council buildings. It's politics as performance, not service. And yet, for a segment of young men, it's working. Look at the polling swings. Young men are twice as likely as young women to back reform. Why? Because they see it as the only party that listens to them, that doesn't treat them as inherently suspect, because the mainstream parties appear sclerotic, humorless, and afraid to talk about young men's struggles without treating them as a danger to society. Because Farage gets on stage and says, have fun, be yourself, get rich. Because, quite frankly, Labour and Conservatives have both failed to inspire anything else. So yes, there's something distasteful about Reform UK's stunt of putting teenagers in charge of social care. It's irresponsible, it's dangerous, but it's also revealing. It reveals a country where young men are alienated, unheard, and willing to follow anyone who will speak to them in their own language, even if it's cynical, crypto-bro gospel, something from the far right. Farage didn't invent these frustrations, but he's been masterful at exploiting them. And before anybody protests, I think somebody who's 18, 19, 20 can absolutely do a great job. Absolutely, with the right support. But when one of these people, when one of these acolytes of Farage says depression isn't real, and they're dealing precisely with that sort of healthcare, I worry. If other parties want to stop this drift, they can't just condemn it. They have to offer something better. Not moralistic lectures about masculinity, not finger-wagging about toxic jokes, but real compelling reasons for young men and young women to believe this country has a future for them. Until they do, Reform UK will keep growing, and the boys will keep running the show.